Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
I named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my rambling friend Frank. How are you today?
Oh, I was born a rambling man.
That was a nice twang. That was
you.
actually really good.
Yeah,
Because sometimes twang can, like, you can go sharp. It's really easy to.
It's too easy to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you.
Good, Frank.
Thank you very
Good for
much.
you. Frank, how are you today?
I'm doing quite well. And I'm happy to be here with you today. How are you?
I'm also doing quite well. We're just quite a bunch of people, aren't we? I wish that we were doing something Q-themed because we say quite a lot, but
yes,
it has
quite.
nothing to do with that, whatever.
Well-
we are doing something beer-themed, though, because this is Beer with Geeks. So,
true.
of course, Frank, what beer are you drinking?
Well, I'm still working through my Christmas stash of Belgians. And this week I am bringing to you a St. Bernardus Abbey Ale, the St. Bernardus Prior 8 Abbey Ale. And you know this came, so my wife got me this lovely selection of Belgian beers for Christmas, and I've been slowly working my way through them. And my favorite thing about this one is that this came with, it was a variety pack of St. Bernardus's, St. Bernardi, and it came with the matching glass.
Yes.
And you know how I feel about a good beer in the appropriate glassware.
Yeah, you love it.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, man, I should have put my beer in a glassware, and now I feel left out. I'm drinking out of a can like a schlub.
That's okay. Some beers are meant to be had out of a can. Actually, I have one in my fridge right now that I'm planning to share on the show at some point in the next couple of weeks here, and it actually does say to drink it right out of the can. So there are some where you want to do that.
Okay, all right.
But
mine, I'm not sure if that's if it's meant to be. I think it's just the way that it comes from. It's just the way that it comes. I'm drinking another Von Trapp because I picked up
nice.
I picked up a different variety. Von Trapp Brewing from Stowe, Vermont. Of course, the family that inspired The Sound of Music. They crossed those mountains, and they landed in Vermont.
That's right.
And then also, weirdly, where my mom went to high school.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, she went to high school with the grandchildren of the Von Trapps.
Huh. That's really cool.
Only my mother.
Yes, always. For those who don't know, Tim's mother is this legendary figure who just has all these... your whole family, I feel like, you have all these funny connections to... I don't know. It's hard to describe. Funny connections to famous people, but then funny, just small world instances happen to you guys a lot where you'll run into somebody who you... I remember one time you and I were in New York and you ran into someone you knew from high school, just on the streets of Manhattan, like on Fifth Avenue. You just bumped into someone you knew from high school, like in Massachusetts. Very, very... just all these weird coincidences that sort of follow you and your family around. So, yeah, it checks out that your mom would have gone to school with the Von Trapp family.
Sure does. But, that's great. So anyway, I'm drinking a Vienna, which is an Austrian-style lager. And it's a little of Austria, a lot of Vermont.
Nice. When will you realize Vienna waits for you?
This one is better than the other one I picked up. It's a little darker, the Austrian ale. It still has a good bit of bubbly to it. So I would say that it's still a light lager, though it's moving a little bit towards more a full-bodied beer than a like summer brew. This is like a good late, like cool evening, warm day kind of beer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I know you have very you have, I don't know, I don't want to say strong feelings, but you definitely have certain beers like, no, this is a summer beer, or this is an evening beer, or this is a daytime, like you have like a ranking almost of, and that would be a fun thing to go through one day, would be to sort of go through like, what is a all day long crushable, I can drink this beer all day, what is a, no, after one of those I'm done. Like, it'd be kind of a fun thing to break that down one day.
That's a great question. I've not really thought about it, but I mean, it's true. I mean, some of them are obvious, right? Like, like you don't drink a stout in the middle of the summer. Like,
right. Yes.
You just like, you
although
don't.
Although some would. I mean, I forget where we were. My wife kind of makes fun of me for this, but we were maybe at someone's like barbecue or something, and they had a whole bunch of left-hand milk stout. And I drank a couple of those, like, at a barbecue, like in the middle of the afternoon on a summer day, and I was like, fine. Because I like those so much, I guess. But I know for you would probably be like, okay, I'm done. I'm taking a nap.
Yeah, not even taking a nap, but they just like, it makes it sound like I can't hold my beer. It's more
it's just that it's heavy.
It's just heavy. Like, I want to eat 6 hamburgers, and I can't do that if I have to drink a stout.
Right.
Because that's like eating 6 hamburgers in one.
It kind
beer.
of is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and the rest of the rolls along with it.
Truth.
So
Truth.
Yeah. So there's 10 burger buns in this thing, but only 6 hamburgers. So you just finish off those buns.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. I've already done it. I anticipated your your
I
request.
put some of the burger, the extra buns in the middle to make like a Big Mac
like
style,
a club, or like a club sandwich.
Like a club sandwich.
Yeah, a club burger.
Club burger. Yeah.
I miss hamburgers. I want to eat a hamburger.
Long pause. The two of us just sort of dream of hamburgers.
I just started really dreaming about hamburgers, but I miss going to restaurants, eating a hamburger.
I know.
I mean, there's something about hamburger somebody else made for you that, I can assemble a hamburger, sure, no problem. But
sure.
It's a lot. Those ingredients weirdly take a lot of extra work.
It's true.
It's true. So, whatever. Frank, we have diverging interests and moods sometimes because we're human beings, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I thought today that we could talk about some of the stuff that we're just like into right now. You get into you just get into moods where you're like, I'm really into this thing right now that maybe I'm not always into all the time, and it might not totally intersect with what we're doing, like what you're into is not always what I'm into.
Totally.
Tasks around the house, all that stuff. Like for example, I'll start off. I told you yesterday that I recently got into woodworking.
Yeah, I saw that over for Christmas. Did it start at Christmas or did it start before that?
Sort of. So I last summer, not pandemic summer, the previous summer, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Gonna get into woodworking. Gonna do it. And then I got the wood, like it's just like the really light, easy to mold kind of wood.
This is like whittling you're talking about.
Whittling, yeah, okay. Specifically. I'm not like building tables in my basement or anything like that. Yeah,
that's
it's gonna look like the Michael Scott table from the dinner party.
That's good. That is a hobby that I would like to get into one day, like woodworking in terms of like building furniture and stuff, but I have no concept of how to do that. Whittling, on the other hand, I feel like I could get into.
I am not good enough at math to be a true woodworker.
Sure.
It's just not in me to be able to do that. But same, like whittling, making little figures with a knife, and I figure I could potentially do that. And so I got this wood like 2 years ago, and then we cleaned out the garage, and I thought we got rid of it by accident. So then I went a whole year, and then we cleaned out the garage again, and I found it. So, nice. And my buddy got me a whittling book and knife for Christmas. So I'm like, now this is the moment.
Right.
I can finally do it, and it's fun. I needed something to do while I watch TV. Because like my wife will like sit and knit, or she'll scrapbook, or she'll do all these like junk journaling. She'll do all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna play solitaire on my phone, right? And sometimes I want to stare at a screen while staring at a screen. I want to do something else. So that's where that came from. So I made a little old man wizard head. That was one, like, it was called a 5-minute wizard. So he's got like a long beard. I think it came out okay. I have a lot of work to do, but it's just for me. So who cares? Yeah. What's something you're into right now?
Okay, so I'm into a couple of things, and are we going to kind of go back and forth on this? Do you have another thing to throw out there?
I mean, I got a couple other things, but it's not like
all right.
Heavens above, I have to mention them.
One thing that I've gotten into lately is I've become a fan of candles.
Really?
In the last several weeks.
Like scented candles or just like dinner, like candelabra candles?
All of it.
Oh, so interesting. So you're Jan and I'm Michael. I'm building the table in the corner.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I've gotten into, you know what it is? Because we are indoors. It's the winter. It's dark. It's cold. There's not a lot to do. And one thing that makes me feel really cozy in the winter, no surprise to anybody, is fire, right? Like having a fireplace or something. And where we're living right now, we don't have a fireplace. We're going to be buying a house at some point in the next few months, and one of the things that I'm hoping for is either a fireplace indoors or like a fire pit outside.
Yep.
But I really
you can add the fire pit.
Yes.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Like
exactly.
that's it. Yeah.
So like
look
space
for the
for a
fireplace,
fire
but
pit.
you can add the fire pit.
Exactly. That's kind of why one of the things I want is an actual. I would like a fireplace because obviously you can't add that.
It'd be expensive. Yeah. Just tear out this section of wall.
Yeah.
No
and just
problem.
put a chimney here. Yeah. So it would be. I would like to have a fireplace or a wood burning stove or something like that.
I grew up with a wood burning stove. It's clutch. It's awesome. It throws out heat way better than a fireplace. I have a fireplace, and it's like, is it on?
Right.
Is it,
yeah.
Like, and it's real. It's not even it's not a gas one. It's like you got to light it yourself, and you're like, I think the fire's going. I mean, I see it certainly, but it just sucks up heat like no tomorrow.
Right. So I love that, and you know I can't have that where we live right now, but candles are sort of the next best thing. So I have been really enjoying sort of playing around with candles of different kinds. So yes, so scented candles, sure. Like I found these really cool like campfire scented candles to play even more into the Serenity by Jan.
James Bond, Bonfire, Michael Scott.
So
that's fire.
Yes, there is that. That's fire. So there is that connection. I thought you'd like that. But I also discovered these, and I haven't bought one yet, but I'm about to. I'm just like my next sort of impulse purchase when I'm a little bit bored is going to be this contraption. Have you ever seen? And I'm going to send you a picture, and I'll put a picture in the show notes as well. Have you ever seen these candles? It is a beeswax candle that sort of unravels. It is like in a coil.
What? No, that sounds so cool.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to iMessage it to you.
Okay.
But I found these. We took like a vacation recently, and I came across at the Airbnb where we were staying. They had one of these candles, and it was just the coolest thing. So it is coiled up, and you unravel however much you want to burn, and then it burns down to that level, and there's a little clamp that you put around the it's built into the stand, and you see how there's a little clamp there.
That is so cool.
When the flame gets to that clamp, it automatically goes out. Like that clamp puts it out. So you pull out however much you want above the clamp, a couple inches, whatever, and you light it. And then when it burns down to where the clamp is, it just puts itself out. I love this because I'm forgetful, and I will like leave the room and leave a candle lit or whatever if I'm not super careful about it. So knowing that it will go out in like an hour or whatever really makes me feel better. But I just thought it was such a neat contraption, the whole thing, and you can buy refills for it. And so the one I just sent you there, and again, this will be in the show notes, but the one I just sent you there is vertical, but they also have this horizontal type, which is the same thing, just sideways. And
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Yep. And then
That's so cool.
and then maybe the coolest one, the coolest type. These are made of beeswax, right? So the beeswax candles. And there's one style that is shaped like a beehive, and it has all these little so it's sort of like domed like a beehive, and it's got these little plastic bees that are stuck into the wax of the candle.
That is so cool.
Aren't they kind of neat? I mean, they're kind of cheesy, but they're kind of cool. So
no, not cheesy. Super cool.
I want to get one of these. I want to get the horizontal kind because the candle sticks straight up that way. Anyway, it's hard if you're not looking at it. It's hard to picture it. But again, look at the show notes and you'll see it there. So I'm
adding them all to my Amazon wish list.
Nice. Yeah, I have the horizontal one on my wish list, and I'm gonna, like I said, it's like $20. It's like $25. It's not an expensive thing. It's just sort of like the next time I'm bored and need some kind of an impulse purchase to give me serotonin, that's what I'm gonna do. So So yeah, I'm looking forward to buying myself one of those soon. And then the final thing, and this is sort of taking it to the next level, is I came across I had sent to me. There's all these subscription boxes, right? Like the subscription boxes that'll send you geek stuff every month and whatever. I signed up a few months ago for one that just sort of sends you. I don't even know how they would put it, but it's called Bespoke Posts, and they just sort of send you. It's I think mainly geared towards men, and they'll send you things like, here's a nice flannel shirt, or here's like sort of quote unquote manly stuff. They sent me a kit that was
here's an axe.
Yes, actually, there was an option to get an axe. I didn't take it, but like, here's an axe with a nice whetstone to keep it sharpened. And here's a one that I did get was a kit that was you could keep cocktails in this glass jar, and there's an oak stick you can put in it to age it on oak wood, to like either age your whiskey or make a cocktail and age it. So that was neat.
Cool. That's cool.
One of the
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's like it's sort of like putting it in. It's like wood from an oak barrel that you stick inside of it to age it there. One thing that they sent me recently was this sort of indoor personal fireplace. So it's literally a cylinder, and I just sent this to you too. And again, it'll be in the show notes. It's a cylinder made of concrete, and you pour isopropyl rubbing alcohol into it and light it, and that's it. It just burns rubbing alcohol, and it's this concrete. I mean, it's heavy. The thing probably weighs 5 or 10 pounds.
Yeah, it looks heavy,
but it's small. It's only about 6 inches in diameter, and maybe 6 inches tall or so. And but it holds, however many ounces of rubbing alcohol, and it just burns that cleanly. And it's a super, and it throws a little bit of heat, but it's mostly for the ambiance, mostly for the light.
Yes, this offers the benefits of regular-sized fireplace in compact portable design.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does that exactly.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
But it's, if you're living in a small space and you can't have a fireplace, this is sort of the, it's a nice little thing to. So I bought a bunch of bottles of rubbing alcohol to keep around, and when I'm feeling like I want to have a cozy night, we turn off the lights and fill it with alcohol and light it, and it's a really nice little way of getting the ambience.
Oh, I love that.
There. So
that is cool.
That's a fun thing, because I'm sort of becoming a pyro in a way, because I just need to have fire around to feel cozy in the winter. So.
I mean, I don't think that is a particularly. I mean, pyro.
Oh, and I burned the house down by accident.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. That's why you can't have a fireplace where you are now, right? Is that
That's why.
In prison. Yeah.
So those that's something I've been into lately. But what else have you been into?
I've been really into the art of books.
Oh, the Star Wars
recently. Yeah,
books.
So I've been going through and reading actually reading, not just looking at the pretty pictures, but the art of Star Wars. And so I went. This is a Star Wars concept. I think is the one for the original trilogy. And I don't have one for episodes 1, 2, and 3 yet. I will find them. And so I have that, because sometimes that's the serotonin too. You got to go like, got to hunt that thing down. We're gonna find it one day. Yep. Yeah, I enjoy the seeking part of collecting.
The hunt can be just as thrilling.
It can be. Yeah, in some ways it's more thrilling because that's the thing that lasts it lasts longer than the actual purchasing. So I've been reading that. So I read The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. I read all of those books. What I found interesting about them is that they leave out spoilers, and so it didn't show. So for instance, the Force Awakens book doesn't have what Luke Skywalker looks like in it.
Oh, interesting.
And it waits for Last Jedi to show you the Force Awakens concept art for that. And so, which works until you get to the final film, because let's say like Emperor Palpatine concept art is not in the Rise of Skywalker book. So that is odd, and I'm reading the Solo one right now, and it is increasing my appreciation for each of those films, whatever you think about them, and I generally sweepingly like them, but like their main influence on Solo, like a lot of so they're like, okay, so Star Wars was made in the 70s, and there's a lot of 70s aesthetic like fine-tuned in there, and I'm like, so if Solo's 10 years before, let's look at 60s cars, let's look at these muscle cars, let's look at this. And so a lot of the Star Wars stuff that is around is just based on like what Harrison Ford drives in American Graffiti. And so like there's stuff like that like that's very cool. Like Woody Harrelson in his contract doesn't wear leather or fur, and so they had like all of these different concepts with him in leather and fur, and they're like, oh, Woody Harrelson's cast, all right, let's roll, let's do something different. And then it's cool to see the love of the people who like really go for the design of each thing. And certain books talk about the story and some don't. When reading between the lines, you can tell which movies were made on the fly versus which ones weren't. Rise of Skywalker,
right?
Because there's a lot of like, oh, we were going to do this, but at the last second we did this instead. There's a lot of that inside Rise of Skywalker, but it's cool. I'm very much enjoying them. So I've been taking my time reading the books, and then I read the book, and then I watch the movie to appreciate the movie at a different level.
Nice.
And that's been fun. That's been real fun. I liked Art of Books before. I like those making of books. You got me that sweet Planet of the Apes one last year or the year before. Like, that thing is awesome. So, but it's good to remind yourself like the amount of work that goes into making movies. I think especially ones that you love. So, and I'm always I'm always in a Star Wars mood basically. So it's been a good way to keep that love going.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, you've always been one to sort of collect the coffee table books and stuff and dive into the story behind the story. I like to peruse those things, but I don't get into them as much. But I have an appreciation for it nonetheless. I'm just maybe not as much of a I don't get into it to the same degree. I like hearing about these things, but I don't necessarily have the motivation to like sit and read it. So I like hearing about it from you when you shared with me like a couple weeks ago. I think you were telling me about do you know that they had to like scrap everything from Rise of Skywalker and like redo it in X number of months? And it was really, really interesting to see, to hear that and for you to sort of relay that story.
Yeah, there's a philosopher. I think it's John Dewey. It could be Collingwood. I can't remember. But anyway, there's this philosopher, and they write about art and aesthetics. And so, like, we're a little past, like, in this point, you're a little past, like, what is art and how do you know it and, like, taste and blah, blah, blah. That's, like, hundreds of years old. Those arguments have been fought out. And is art just beautiful and so on and so on. But what one of these guys says, and it could be Tolstoy, actually, now that I think about it. I can't remember. But they say, like, you can like something, and that's great. But to appreciate something, to feel it, to know it, to call it art for yourself, you should know its history and how it's made. And so because you just appreciate the work that goes into it, And you know, if you know the kind of brushstrokes that are used on that canvas, or if you know the kind of oil, or you know what instruments are at play and how they're working off of one another, or if you know the history of those lyrics, or how that movie gets made, what components, who work together, you just appreciate it more. Which is, I mean, sounds like obvious. Like, obviously, the more you know, the more you appreciate, but we tend not to think of it like that when it's just sometimes when it's our passing entertainment, we're like, I saw it, I liked it. Sometimes entertainment is just entertainment, but to know how things are put together gives you an appreciation for them. So maybe you just don't judge them too harshly, right? You know, so like or alternatively, you can judge them more harshly because you know how things are done, and you know, like, it gives you some kind of clout, I guess.
Right.
So it can work either way.
That's really interesting. I do find that like knowing more about how things are made does give me a greater appreciation, and that's how I've gotten into, like, that's how I got into you know, certain shows and franchises. I mean, something like Star Wars, like, knowing how the movies are made gives me that much more appreciation for, like, wow, like, do you realize that, like, Lucas had to spin up his own special effects company to, like, even be able to make the first Star Wars? Like, things like that just give you such an added appreciation for the achievements that, you know, that those things are.
That's right. That's right. And why decisions, like, are made. So, like, people always give, this is an obvious example, but people give Steven Spielberg a lot of credit for, like, how he shot Jaws. Like, oh, you never see the shark, and that's like all this and that. Like, he did that because the robot didn't work, because nobody thought it was smart to test it underwater. Like, you know, like, what is the, like, hello? And that gives, like, so it gives you a deeper appreciation for the art of the movie.
That's true.
And
that's a great example of where, like, you think, like, oh yeah, he was so smart to never show us the shark until the end and make it feel, and it's like, that was more of a happy side effect of,
that's right,
of the situation with you know, the Bruce not working out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hello Bruce.
Hello Bruce.
Yeah. So anyway, so I've been really into art of books.
Nice.
And on the Star Wars train, I'm also reading The High Republic, the newest venture, the Star Wars venture. Charles Soule. Do you ever read Charles Soule comics? You read the Star Wars comics.
I've read his comics. Yeah, I'm behind on the Star Wars comics right now, but I've read his work. Yeah, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he is great. I've been a fan of his since Swamp Thing over at DC, and he wrote Daredevil, his She-Hulk run, which is what the Disney Plus show is going to be, I think, going to pull a lot from his show, his comic run, and it's excellent. It's so good. But the book is great. If you're looking for, like, quality Star Wars again, you're like, yeah, man, Jedi being awesome, the galaxy being, it's very, like, it's a little heavy-handed in that it's like, everyone, it's a good time to be alive in the Star Wars universe, you know what I mean? Everybody's working together. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Like, shouldn't we be working together? So, but you know what? I want everyone to work together, so it's nice to see that. And there's a really well thought out uses of the Force that we haven't seen before, because it follows Jedi around, interesting villains that are new, but it all feels Star Wars. And you get to visit, you know, like, sometimes I criticize the sequel trilogy for not giving enough of familiarity. Like, you know, they were so much like, oh yeah, this, you know, like, we got to include this many aliens and this and this and this. I'm like, what about some aliens we've seen before?
Yeah.
Mix though. I didn't see one Twi'lek in 3 films. You know, that goes a long way with me. And this High Republic gives you that in spades,
nice.
But also introduces you to a few new things, which is, you know, in with the old and the new.
I see a Wookiee on the cover, so, like, I'm
a Wookiee Jedi.
I see that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like
there's
that.
some good stuff. Like, this is a slight, not really a spoiler, but, like, the Jedis, you know, they have ships to get around, right, in space, but there's no weapons on the ship. and there's no nav controls or anything. They use the Force.
Oh, wow.
And the ship's like metal and whatever else. It's as thin as possible so they can like feel the vibrations of the ship and know how to turn and where to go. And they literally just use the Force and gravity and like physics to get them there.
Wow.
And they like plug in their lightsabers into the dash, and like the lightsaber is the thing that transforms it into a weapon if they need it. And so like kind of like, like kyber crystals, the Death Star, blah blah blah. Single lightsaber powers the powers
is the
weapons
kyber
if
crystal that
necessary.
powers the weapons if they need. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So that way nobody can also take control of the ship because you need a lightsaber to use the ship. It's very cool, very cool. And so I'll be interested to like read this in their phases through and be like, okay, so then like you really do eventually see the decline of the Jedi, and where, and by the time you get to Phantom Menace, why Qui-Gon's like, I disagree with the Council because you all stink. The High Republic, like this is what it was, and this is what we're doing. So, it's cool.
Interesting.
It's cool.
That's a very as you often do. You've piqued my interest with that.
Yeah, well, I try. I'll do a
like
little peeking.
I like it.
Yeah. You got one more thing that you're.
I got one more
that
thing
you're doing before we wrap it.
I got one more thing.
Okay.
This is a guilty pleasure.
Yes.
My wife. My wife has gotten into the Bravo show Below Deck.
I don't know what that is.
And I have gone with her, and I am on board with it too. So Below Deck.
You also have gone below deck. I see.
I have also gone Below Deck. It is a reality show that follows. It is a workplace reality show. So it is a reality show that follows people at a workplace, and just all of the drama comes from just following these real people doing their real job, and you just watch them, and that's the drama.
Okay.
It is about people who work on luxury charter yachts. So you follow the crew of one particular yacht throughout a 6-week yachting season, and they're usually in the Caribbean. And so people charter out this yacht, this like mega yacht, over the course of 6 weeks, and every episode is like a different charter that they're doing over the course of the 6-week season. And these people are living and working together on this boat. And it's, you've got the interior crew who take care of like making the beds and serving the meals and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And the exterior crew who are like the actual deckhands. So they're like dealing with pulling the lines and putting out the jet skis for the guests to use and all this kind of stuff. And it is just a workplace drama, but it's real life. It's real people. I mean, there's some obviously manufactured drama where like these two people are fighting over because they got drunk on their night off and got into a fight, and a producer was probably whispering in their ear like, wow, you're going to let him talk to you like that? You should really fight back. There's stuff like that that's obvious when that kind of drama is happening. And yet it's still fun to watch. It's just fun to watch. And there are some people who carry over from season to season of the show. So I think they're currently in their 8th season. We're binging it, and so we're on season 6. But I think season 8 is currently airing or just wrapped up, something like that. And so a lot of the people carry over. It's the same captain every season, and then a lot of the other crew come and go. Like some people will leave and come back from season to season and whatnot. And the really interesting thing to me, the most interesting thing about it, is that yachting itself has a season, right? So they have a 6-week period where they're doing these charters. And so because the season of the show follows an entire season of yachting, you get a built-in beginning, middle, and end. You get beginning like sort of act breaks that are just sort of naturally there. As they get towards the end of a season, of a yachting season, and the end of the TV season, things come to a head as like people who have been keeping their mouth shut and being nice to each other finally let loose at the end. So there's all this stuff that happens naturally, as if it was like the end of the school year or the end of some naturally defined some defined
the end
period,
of summer camp or something
like that. So it's a very interesting dynamic between these people, and some of them I'm like, the chief stewardess, her name is Kate, and I'm like, oh, she's a really interesting personality, and she's been in almost every season, and I've liked watching her, and she sort of ends up being sort of a narrator on the show. They're very interesting, and you get to like. You watch people and you're like, oh, I know that. Like I know a person just like Nico. Like Nico reminds me of this guy that I knew in high school, and he's so arrogant, and he thinks that he's all that, but and it gets you like as somebody who sort of enjoys watching enjoys people watching. Basically, that's what it is. You get to do people watching of these people at their workplace and have the dynamics play out. So it's a guilty pleasure. It's a little, it's a little bit trashy TV, but I enjoy it still because I found it fun, light popcorn TV. That's drama, but like not real drama. It's stupid drama over like, why did you kiss her? Stupid stuff like that. That sort of distracts me from the actual drama that's going on around us in a way that's sort of like I can get sucked into this show for a couple of hours, binge a few episodes, and get really invested in this thing that doesn't matter at all, and then turn it off and go back to my life.
That is so. I don't watch or like reality TV normally, but I'm like weirdly interested. Like I want to be like, so I like the idea of like the naturally progressed season. I've also had seasonal jobs, so like I understand the like living and working with everybody and the tension that rises from that. And then like it is an experience unlike it's kind of like quarantine. It's a lot like quarantine, in which you're doing a thing and you're always together and you can never really be apart, and it's like it can be like college that way, but college you also separate and you can like go see other people in this, but like when you're on a boat or when you're at a camp or anything like that's what you're doing. Ooh, that's interesting. How are you watching it? Because I don't have the cable.
It's on Peacock.
Peacock, I can do that.
Yeah, it's on Peacock. All the seasons are on Peacock. Yeah, I would say like just dip into season 1 and you might have to watch a couple episodes to sort of get the feel for it and see if you like it or not. But I'd say after like 2-3 episodes, probably after 3, you'll know if you like it or not.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's sort of, it started out as background TV for me. She got into it because I think she was just looking for a new bingeable something to have on. And I was like, oh, this is okay. I watched the first one with her, and I was like, I'm not going to watch everyone with you, but like, this, so like, feel free to watch it without me. But like, I might dip in and out every now and then. And then it became sort of I'd come in the room, and she'd be like, oh, I'll turn it off. And I'm like, no, you can finish the episode you're on, and then maybe one more. And then this past weekend, it was like, great. So we're just going to watch nothing but this all weekend. Great, let's do it. So I'm fully sucked in at this point, and even like, but why, there's no reunion show this season? All right, wait, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? We can find the clips on YouTube and piece it together.
That's the way it always works, though. That's why they're so popular. They just get you.
It's true.
They get you.
I see the appeal. And I still think it's kind of trashy, but at this time, in the year of our Lord 2021, sometimes you just need a little bit of trashy TV to get you through.
Speaking of trashy TV, this isn't trashy TV, but I know you watched it and I watched it, and we not enough to do a whole episode on. But you, The Queen's Gambit,
yes,
Netflix, everybody watched it. We watched it at home. What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. I was not sure that I would, but I was like, because I don't play chess and I don't know all the rules of chess, so I was like, it's going to go over my head. But I got way into it, and really, we watched the whole thing in one weekend. Like we started on Friday night, and by Sunday morning we were done.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's usually the sign of a good show. I also liked it a lot. It took me longer to get into it though, and I do play. Like I do know. I mean, like I know enough of chess to get beat most every time. But so like I know what the pieces are supposed to do, and I can play a game with you. But going in, I'm probably not going to win.
Okay.
So like watching them play was like, it's almost like, oh, I know how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then you watch somebody play Beethoven, and you're like, okay,
right?
Yeah, you're different than me. But I liked it. I liked the chess part because I know that they talked to grandmasters,
yes,
and they had every game was planned out because somebody early on said, chess is a big deal. People will know if you mess this up. So every single game they play, every move, every this is actually mapped out and real and all that stuff. And I really like that. It took my wife and I a little bit to get into it just because I had seen there's a lot of stuff kind of like that out there. Like, I don't think it does anything particularly different or new or interesting apart from that it has a part that is from about chess, really. But once it's Anya Taylor-Joy, or at least like maybe by that third episode or so, like she is so engaging and watchable, and anything. She's always great, but to watch her evolution as a player and as a person. So like the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, all of it thrown together was really, really great progression. Like you're really rooting for her. And I thought maybe it was more sinister at first than it was, and that threw me. Like I really thought something was up with her mom, like her adoptive mother. I was like, she's evil, I think, probably. I can't tell, maybe. And it turns out I was reading far too much into things without spoilers, but like so once I guess put the expectation aside, because it was hyped, a lot of people, by the time I watched it, it was definitely hyped, but by the end we were like, that was great, that was really good. I'm so glad that we watched that.
It was definitely hyped, and that definitely gave me some pause as to like, do I really want to watch this? Like when things are too popular, sometimes I'm like, ugh, it's so, everyone's talking about it and it's so popular, like ugh, it feels like a chore to watch this thing that everyone's talking about sometimes.
That's right.
But ultimately that's why I watched it, because ever so many people whose opinions I respect were saying that it was good, so I checked it out. And I really, really enjoyed it. I was worried that my not knowing chess would get in the way, but I mean, it's no more than like, not knowing how the paper business works doesn't take away from my enjoyment of The Office or whatever. So like, not working in government doesn't take away from my enjoyment of Parks and Rec and,
right.
whatever. So it doesn't matter. I really enjoyed it. I thought you mentioned that they did get some grandmasters input on it. My understanding, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but my understanding is that the big match at the end of the series is an exact reconstruction of a match that Garry Kasparov played in. He was a grandmaster for many years. He's the one who famously lost to the IBM computer. The first grandmaster to lose, where a computer actually beat the person. So he's like a big deal. He was like the world champion for many years, and I guess that the final game at the end of the series is like an actual championship game that he played, and it's all of the moves are exactly move for move from that game. That's
very cool.
Yeah.
See, that's great. Like that's great. What we talked about earlier about knowing how things work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That makes me appreciate the level of work that went into creating the show and the appreciation that they had, or the show has, for people who actually play chess.
Yes.
Because you can write that off as whatever nerd stuff. But I did enjoy. Halfway through, I turned to my wife and I'm like, "You realize that we're watching like hours of show, just people, like just a bunch of nerds being nerds," and I loved that. Because we are that. So
and the little kid from Love Actually being sexually active.
I kept calling him Chess-o-dile Dundee because he looked like
Chess-o-dile Dundee.
That was
God.
like, couldn't remember his name, and my wife was like, he looks like Crocodile Dundee, and I was like, you mean Chess-o-dile Dundee?
Wow.
I'll be here all night. All right.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, Frank, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Where can the people find us?
You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com. That is our home for this show. And if you like this show, chances are you're going to like one of the other shows in the Thought Bubble Audio Network. So head on over to beerwithgeeks.com and click the link over to thoughtbubbleaudio.com to see some of our other shows. You can also support this and all of our other shows at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. And you can throw us $1 or $2 every month to help support the shows and pay for all the ongoing costs of running this many podcasts. You can also support us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or anywhere that you find podcasts. We're on all those services. Apple Podcasts in particular is very helpful when it comes to ratings and reviews, but thank you for listening wherever you listen, subscribing wherever you subscribe, and leaving us ratings and reviews in all those places. And you can contact us directly at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com or at beerwithgeeks on Twitter. And that's those are the big highlights. Those are the things you need to know, the things you need to do. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting us in all those various ways.
Well, that was very nice of you to say, Frank. And as always, a pleasure to talk to you. And so next time, cheers.
Cheers.